Hello and welcome to Voice of Rio Grande. I'm Dr. Donna Mitchell, Dean of the College of Professional and Technical Studies, along with my co-host, Dr. Heather Duda, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Hello, Heather.
Hi, Donna. How are you today?
Oh, I'm a little tired. I don't know about you. This has been a busy week.
Oh yeah, the last week of classes, next week final exam time. I sometimes think that I'm as tired as the students who are doing all those final projects and exams.
I know it's been a buzz of activity in my office between students coming and going and everybody getting ready for finals, but golly, the campus right now is, I think it's pretty even though it's winter time. It's warm out, and when the show comes on and they show the shots of the campus, it's just so pretty in the fall.
It is. It's gorgeous.
Although the leaves are almost gone, I just think it's a beautiful day to be on Rio Grande campus.
It is. I had the opportunity to do a little bit of walking around campus earlier, and it was wonderful to get outside.
We've got a guest joining us today I'm really excited to hear from. So would you like to introduce her to our guests?
I would love to, and as you can see, I think everyone can see her up there. Hi, Klaire.
We're doing our first Skype interview.
We are. We're pretty excited about this.
Pretty fun.
So joining us today from the other side of the country is Rio alum Klaire Smith. Klaire is currently one of a select group of students who are doing a printer and training program at Tamarind Institute in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I believe I got that all correct.
You did.
So Klaire, thanks so much for joining us. And you are a recent grad of the art program here at Rio. So we thought we'd start by just asking you to tell us a little bit about your experiences while you were here at Rio as an art student, and then we'll hear a little bit more about the program you're currently doing.
Okay, yeah. I loved being at Rio. I graduated in 2016, just a couple years ago, with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I studied both visual art, two-dimensional visual art, mostly works on paper, as well as graphic design for the majority of my stay here. I was also in the honors program, which was a really great way to go through my education here. I had a lot of great experiences both in the arts program and within the honors program. I focused on print studies. I did some research in etching. I also focused on lithography quite a bit, which is what I study right now here at Tamarind. The art program actually at Rio, Benji Davies had started up a printer collaboration program where we brought visiting artists in and created work. It was part of a provost initiative. And that started the wheels turning for me in printmaking and really trying to figure out where I was going to go with my career after Rio. And it pointed me here to all the way to Albuquerque at Tamarind Institute. So, yeah. Rio, I have everything to thank Rio for to be at Tamarind. So.
And you're in New Mexico now, but are you originally from the Rio Grande area?
I was born in Gallipolis. I grew up in Portsmouth, Ohio, however, just across the bottom of Ohio, on the other side of the Ohio River. My grandparents are actually, my dad's from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, so I've got a lot of Appalachian flowing through me.
That's wonderful, because a lot of time Appalachian people don't want to leave home, don't want to go too far away, so the opportunity for you to go where you are and study is just so exciting.
I think so too. It's been really great to get out of Appalachia, but I'm at the point where I'm ready to start wandering back toward Appalachia. It's been nice to get away, but I think that is home. And I've got a lot to give back to Appalachia, I think.
I love the way you just said that you're thinking about wandering home. That's such a nice visual there. So tell us about the program you're currently in.
I study at Tamarind Institute for Lithography. It is an intensive study of lithography. For those of you who are not familiar, lithography is printmaking on stone. So you're making impressions of art. They're unique impressions, not reproductions of paintings, but unique drawings on stone or plate onto paper. So it was invented in the late 1700s, so it's a fairly recent art practice, but it has its own niche. It's similar in a lot of ways to drawing, but it adds a lot of complexities to it, and you also get multiple impressions of the art. It's not just a single impression of work. It's not just a single piece of paper. It could be, 500 pieces of that art, and they're all identical, but it is a unique piece of work. But I study the multiple processes that surround lithography, how to do it, how it's applied. I'm even taking a business course this semester to give us the knowledge and understanding of how to start a business within the arts sector. Tamarind is the only program and institute of its kind anywhere in the world. It's the only lithographic that's focused on lithography. It was started in 1960 in LA. And then after 10 years, it was funded by the Ford Foundation. And so once it lost its funding, it came to Albuquerque. And now it's part of the University of New Mexico.
Okay, wow.
So it's pretty special out here. There's also a publishing side of the Institute. They bring in artists and create works of art with them to sell mostly, and for collectors and galleries and museums. And yeah, Tamarind is pretty complex.
How many students are in your program?
I'm one of 8 students. There are 7 other students. Each year there are 8 selected, and 2 students could potentially go on to become a master apprentice the second year.
Wow.
But so it goes down from 8 to 2.
Wow, that's amazing. What did you have to do to apply? Like what did you have to, I assume, do a portfolio of your work, some kind of application form? What is the application process for a program like this?
Tamarind requires students submit around 20 pieces of lithographic work. It can be work that you've created, actual drawings and images that are your own, but also work that you've collaborated with another artist, in that the artist does all the drawing and you do all of the technical processes and the printing. It is a technically driven art medium, and so many artists seek out printers as opposed to learning the processes themselves when they're interested in working in this discipline. And so either work that you've created 100% or art that you've collaborated with is acceptable, so long as you've done the technical processes for it. You need to have a background in lithography. I think it requires around 3 or 4 classes in lithography, maybe 12 hours, 12 credit hours, something like that. So an understanding of the print processes. Of course, if you're someone who is just in the arts, I've got one of my classmates is from Singapore. He is an educator from Singapore, and so he is not versed in lithography, but he's wanting to take lithography back to Singapore and teach it in a way that is correct. There's a lot of ways to do lithography wrong. It's chemistry based, and so if you don't understand how it's done, you're not going to be able to create the results needed to make artwork that is sellable and marketable. And so it is important to have an understanding of how the work is created. But yeah, he's taking it back to Singapore. So there's also an application. You've got to have 3 recommendations as well as a letter of intent. And yeah, it's a fairly simple process. If you're from out of the country, you've got to go through some international type of things, but you don't have to take the GRE, which is always something that people in the arts tend to like. So, yeah.
So it sounds like you need to be both strong artistically for this program, but also in your communication skills. Yeah,
a large part of this program is collaborative. We're working with other artists. The second part of the year. So the first semester we focus on processes and techniques, and the second semester we pair up with graduate students from the University of New Mexico right across the street. We're conveniently located on campus. And so those graduate students will come in and collaborate with us, and we will be taking their work and creating prints for them. This is a situation where they're actually paying Tamarind in material costs, so it's professional work that they'll be able to use for their graduate thesis and shows throughout their career. But yeah, a large portion of the way that Tamarind educates is through collaboration and being able to facilitate works by artists within the medium, being able to take their concepts and create something that's different and unique within lithography.
Wow. It speaks very highly of you, and I think of your background at Rio, that you were one of the people selected, because this sounds like a very prestigious, very highly selective program.
I was very fortunate to be able to study under Benji Davies. He has a love of lithography, and lithography is one of the art mediums that have a tendency of being dropped from arts programs within the college. It's expensive, there's a lot of overhead, stones are heavy, literally, and pretty pricey. There's a lot of chemicals, a lot of things are toxic or flammable, and so respirators and gloves are needed very often. So it's something that has to be done with caution, and you have to have an understanding of what the chemistry does. And I was able to get a base knowledge of understanding that at Rio because of the arts program here. I was able to focus a lot of my junior and senior years specifically on lithography. I had taken the majority of the print classes that were offered, and they started making selected topics classes for me so I could keep studying printmaking and lithography and doing the research that I wanted to do. And I was also granted multiple provost initiatives that I was able to do research both on collaborative lithography and also etching, which isn't lithography, but it's a print medium nonetheless. And all of that not only looks good in your resume, but makes you a better printer and makes you a better artist, which ultimately will get you to a place like Tamarind when you're a student at Rio. I was able to get such a hands-on experience going to workshops also. Benji was always pushing his students to go to workshops at Huntington, Museum of Art there, and the motion sensors. But I met a former Tamarind-trained educator. He was hosting a workshop at Huntington Museum of Art.
Oh, okay.
And that, because I had attended that workshop, I was able to actually assist at his workshop here in Santa Fe, just an hour north of Albuquerque, the summer before last. And that I was able to network myself to Tamarind, essentially, because I believe Benji helped us gain an appreciation of networking and an understanding of how important networking is in not only art, but really any field that you're in. I was prepared for a career, and I didn't just get a degree, so I still am thankful.
You were mentioning the stones that you use, and I'm going to show my ignorance a little bit. Are there special types of stones that you have to use for this process?
They are. It's a special type of limestone that's from Germany. It's quarried in just one quarry in Germany. It's pretty big, so we shouldn't run out. We should be okay. But yeah, it's a special type of limestone that works for the lithographic processes. It's porous enough that the greases that you use within the process it penetrates the stone, but soft enough that you're able to grain it down and use it multiple times, really countless times. But stones they're quite heavy. You've got to use a hydraulic lift to move them around. Wow. So they're quite large. You can also print off of aluminum plates. They're manufactured in a way that mimics the grain of the stone, and so that they're quite a bit lighter and they're a little bit easier to maneuver. And they're manufactured here in Albuquerque, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's the lead provider for all materials needed for lithography, including presses, is manufactured majorly in Albuquerque at Tackage Press, which came to Albuquerque because Tamarind is here. So it's a very interesting dynamic between the institutes.
Well, we're going to take a short break. I'm Dr. Donna Mitchell with my co-host Dr. Heather Duda, and we are talking to Klaire Smith, and we'll be right back. Hello and welcome back. I'm Dr. Donna Mitchell with my co-host Dr. Heather Duda, and we are interviewing Klaire Smith today. And she has really given us a wealth of information about what she's doing and how her Rio Grande background has prepared her. And it's just fascinating to learn about what you're doing and about the different types of techniques that you've learned and how that love for your discipline started here at Rio. And I have to admit that I really I wasn't even aware we were teaching these things in the art department. So it's good to hear that there are things going on that are leading to such amazing things for our graduates.
Absolutely. And you know, Klaire was Spotlight on Success alumni award recipient this fall. Every semester, fall and spring, the School of Arts and Letters does a Spotlight on Success series where they pick a faculty member, a current student, and an alum to honor. And Klaire is this semester's. And you know, there's this really great poster if you go in the Fine Arts or you go upstairs in Wood Hall, and it asks a bunch of questions of the recipients. And Klaire, one of the things that you've been talking about that really struck me when I read the answers to your questions was how you wrote that one of the best things for students to do is to get involved. So often college is one of so many different responsibilities that a student has. They might have work, they might have family, they might have school, and then probably several other things that I'm not even thinking of. Yet you really encouraged folks through your answer to take advantage of all the opportunities that they could. And you've mentioned several that you took advantage of, the honors program, the Provost Academic Initiative Awards, the conferences, the lithography workshops and conferences that the art program did. I bet you went on at least one New York City trip that the art department does. And I know that you've presented at RISE, you presented at the Mideast Honors Association conference. I'm probably missing half the things that Klaire did while she was here. And it seems like a lot of those things got you to where you are today. They were instrumental in helping you along. What advice do you have for the student who says, I'm too busy to do anything except attend class? Do you have, as somebody who definitely went above and beyond with your participation, do you have any suggestion for that student who really, they've got a lot on their plate and they just don't feel like they can do anything else? What would you say to them?
I understand the feeling. I worked all the way through college. There are things that you have to pay through college. You're still a person. That takes a lot of time. It's easy to think, I have to work. I can only really go to class. But you can still participate in things. You can be a part of clubs. I was a part of multiple clubs, being able to stay in tune with a lot of my peers. At Rio, and also if you figure out how to allocate just one weekend a month or once a week or whatever you think you can allow in your schedule, you can actually make time for events if it's something that you think you can't afford to do, because a lot of workshops, a lot of things that aren't on campus necessarily do cost something. Most of the time the college can find some sort of grant money or something to help the $50 application fee or whatever it is that you need in that when that happens. And I don't know. That's a hard question. I don't know how you find the time to do it. It just depends on where you want to get in your career. It doesn't get any easier trying to allocate time once you graduate from school and when you're navigating early parts of your career and graduate school. And if anything, you have less time. So in essence, you sort of have to get used to it and recognize that you may only have time for 3 hours of Netflix this week, and and just get out there to the workshop anyway. Use that Friday night to go to a reception or to some sort of networking event. Don't think, oh, I've got to do this. It's an obligation. Think of it as something that you're gonna potentially, it's gonna help your career. So it's going to better you, and it's just going to make you happier in life. And bettering your career and going the distance just needs to become a priority at a certain point in your career. If you're wanting to go outside of your comfort zone, and that's what it is. The majority of the time, students don't want to do many things because they are outside of their comfort zones, and that's okay. But everyone's nice, and there's usually cookies, and there's someone else, some chair somewhere that you can sit in until you get calm and collected and the courage to talk to someone at the event. But just do it. Just get out there. It usually takes a couple hours out of a day, typically, to do something, especially on campus. Apply to be a presenter anytime that you think you have information that is ready to be presented. Maybe you are working towards something and you need a deadline. Give yourself a deadline. Apply to be a presenter, and so you can get your work out there and get feedback on your work. That's what's also important, is not just getting your work and yourself out there, but getting that feedback to make everything you do even better. But just prioritize, and time management is truly key. And ask for help when you think you need help. That's important. Don't be scared to ask for help.
That's something sometimes our students struggle with a little bit, I think. Even my own daughters have said, well, Mom, I never had to ask for help in high school. So I don't really want to ask for help because it'll make me seem like I don't know what I'm doing, or like I'm weak or whatever. And I tell all of our students, our best students are those students who know when they need help and reach out for that help. Mm-hmm. Because no man's an island, right?
Exactly.
Or woman.
We all don't know what we're doing sometimes. There's no shame in just fessing up that you don't know what's happening and you need help. It makes all the difference. It makes all the difference.
So what will your degree be when you finish your work there?
I will have a certificate in fine art lithography. I will be a Tamarind trained printer. So it's not actually a degree. It will hopefully help me get into graduate school, prove myself as a printer, and get some assistantships, and be able to fund my graduate schooling. That was another, not reason, but it was an additional benefit from studying at Tamarind, would be the financial gains.
So what are your long-range goals? What would you like to be doing in 5 or 10 years?
5 or 10 years, I'd like to be through with graduate school, my MFA, Master's of Fine Arts, and I am pretty passionate about pursuing a career in education, being a professor, and really coming back to Appalachia. That's how I would like to give back, is come back to Appalachia and make sure that students are able to get where they need to be in their career, and also to preserve the art of lithography. Being across the country and away from Appalachia, I'm starting to understand my roots, understand my family, and really who I am and where I belong in society, more or less. And Appalachia is a craft-heavy and technique and artisan. It's very historically driven in that regard, and lithography is essentially an artisan's process. It's somewhere between fine art and craft, depending on how you use it. And I think it would translate really great into the diaspora of art that is in Appalachia right now. I just would like to give back.
Well, thank you for being our guest today. Unfortunately, we've run out of time.
I
could talk to her all day. And thank you for joining us on another episode of Voice of Rio Grande.
See you next time.